right, welcome to the second review of the evening, a game called Super Destronaut Land Wars. The Super Destronaut franchise, yes, this is a franchise. Um, Usually it's a Space Invader clone, but with Land Wars here, they are proudly touting a new way to play Super Destronaut in glorious 3D voxels. And since this is we had the Nintendo Switch version given to us, that means Galax played through this, and he has opinions. You know,
Yeah. So some of my opinions is that I'm just not good at first-person shooters, and that this is Space Invaders turned into a first-person shooter, where everything is okay. So you're in like a neon outlined maze that's mostly boxy, but there are some trees and rocks for some reason. You have a gun that looks like it's made out of like friggin' stained glass polygons, and the Space Invaders still just look like 2D Space Invader things, except like non-brand name Space Invaders because it's Super Destronaut, so it's a different brand name. Honestly, the controls are not bad at all, and I actually kind of got reasonably comfortable with them. But it still feels like, in spite of having a reasonable degree of modes and stuff, there's not really a whole lot to do here. There are like 5 guns. You got your machine gun, you got your grenade launcher, you got your shotgun, you got a laser gun, and you got a rocket launcher. But you don't normally like get most of those. There are challenges. There are 30 different challenges where you have to do various specific things in a certain mode at a certain difficulty or whatever. So like it can be anything from kill 5 enemies to get a 10 times multiplier as a harder one to like buy a shotgun on extra hard mode. Because in the arcade modes and or at least the main arcade mode and in some of the challenges, you start in front of a store thingy that has a weird, that you can buy upgrades from, including the other guns that you don't start with, extra health, speed upgrades, damage reduction, stuff like that. You do regain health sometimes. I never figured out what was causing it, so that's a thing. Most of the challenges are fairly short, so there's not a whole lot of meat there, except for unless you're really bad at it or really into it and want to get like the best possible score on everything. And otherwise, there are single player modes. It's all phase based, like the way that a tower defense game works. Like the first wave does not have particularly dangerous enemies or many of them, but a little while after you've been fighting them, it'll say more enemies incoming, and then the next wave spawns a few more and they're a little more aggressive. I think the different colors and designs of enemies have slightly different behaviors, but not a lot different. And I was never able to pin them down, except for I think the blue guys can teleport short distances, but I'm not sure. So aside from the classic mode, which is just how long can you live and stuff, there's also a mode where you can barely move and jump and you have to shoot things. There's a mode where you start with a rocket launcher. There's a mode where you start with a high multiplier and have to keep killing things, because if your multiplier gets down to 0, you lose. And there's like one other one that I don't remember what was. All of which I guess are fairly interesting for challenging yourself if you're into that. I guess. Oh, and there are some options for like choosing whether you have chromatic aberration. I think there's an invert y-axis or x-axis controls and a sensitivity slider if you're into that. So the main thing is that there's just not really a lot to it aside from like seeing how long you can live. The enemies are not like challenging. Honestly, the biggest issues that I had was getting shot a lot while trying to buy upgrades, because you don't go into a pause menu. The thing is a literal screen on a wall in game that you have to stand in front of and press buttons to interact with. And if you are doing that, then if there is a living enemy nearby, they can shoot at you while you're doing it. There's not any kind of multiplayer anything that I could find, which is a little bit surprising because that might actually make this a little bit more interesting, either as a co-op or as a versus. But I'm not surprised at that, seeing as how this is, hey, what if Space Invaders, but GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
The arena is not actually super big, but it's not like cramped. I think I got turned around a lot, but I was never too far for. I never had too hard of a time finding my way back to the store panel, so couldn't have gotten too lost. So basically, I would be knocking this game super hard if it costs more than $5, but it's $5, so sure, fine, whatever. If you like neon and shooting things, it's not bad. But it's also not a very deep experience, I don't think.
Doesn't seem like it's billing itself as such. It's arcade action, just moved into the third dimension.
Well, I can picture a 3D Space Invaders. So I think it suffers a little bit from everything else being 3D, but the Space Invaders just being, no, that's actually what they look like. They're actually like friggin' 8x8 sprites. I mean, it makes them easy to shoot.
True enough. I think there was a 3D Space Invaders on the GameCube called Space Raiders. It wasn't very good. And I hear the clicky-clacky of looking things up.
Yeah.
Live research and all that.
Well, yeah, just so like I can picture like a from the behind view Space Invaders thing, and that could almost be like an interesting variation. So yeah, when you say that, I think when you think of like augmenting Space Invaders, I honestly think more tower defense, less first person shooter.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there are installments of this that are that.
Right.
It's just those didn't land in the review pile.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not bad. It's just a fairly shallow and not super long experience unless you really enjoy repeatedly doing similar challenges. Because like even with the challenges, there are 30 different ones, but they repeat thematically about every 5. Like it'll be like a survive for X amount of time, a get X number of points, a reach Y combo, a kill a number of enemies, and a purchase something. But increasing in difficulty and changing the modes and stuff.
Yeah. Anything else?
Not really. You guys have any questions?
What's the music like?
I forgot to check and was playing with the sound mostly off.
Oh.
Sorry. I assume it was electronic. Let me check. I can boot it up and put the sound up.
Because not everyone does play with the sound off, and it could be electronic. Like, mainly I'm interested in the tempo because, a game like this is probably going to have very fast music.
Yeah.
Like,
if it will load.
That awkward moment.
Taking its time.
Yes. Now, as I understand it, I think this is the third in the Super Destronaut games.
Yeah, I see a regular and a deluxe. So
Yeah. Granted, that could be the same game, just with more added features. Yeah. This is this is at the very least a completely new interpretation of Super Destronaut.
yeah, we got some pumping electro techno, just like I expected.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting as well. Just gotta make sure it's there and not something going for the ambient noise, relaxing.
Right.
Ends up being some
Oh,
classical
I did
Mozart
forget
or
one
something.
thing that I've now been reminded now that I'm back in. One of the upgrades you can purchase is a coin collector, which is kind of important if you're playing in an arcade mode because otherwise, when you kill a thing, the coins that you can use to buy upgrades just kind of physics object around. And the coin magnet makes it so that you just need to be kind of close instead of having to literally touch them. Because this being a first-person shooter, you cannot see your feet. And obviously, if you want to progress further in this game, it depends a lot on being able to buy upgrades. I mean, certainly you can get by largely on your own skill, but eventually you're going to want more life or to have access to more than just the machine gun. So I always prioritize that because otherwise I spent too much time trying to pick up coins while I was getting shot at.
Insert dance monkey dance joke.
Anything else?
Not really. Again, it's perfectly good. I actually kind of enjoyed it, which is pretty rare for a first-person shooter. But there's not a whole lot there, which is probably part of why I enjoyed it because I didn't feel like there was much for me to miss.
Right. I know what you're saying. All right then, so that'll about do it for Super Destronaut Land Wars here. Be sure to tune in after the break for Hypergalactic Psychic Table Tennis 3000.